Good morning. How are you doing this morning? Good. Well, I wore my tie today because I want to talk about superheroes. Do any of you identify any of the superheroes on this tie?
I can.
Ken?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is on this tie, yes.
Iron Man. Will.
Well, that's not Iron Man. It's technically the Human Torch, but a good guess, yeah.
The Human Torch?
Yeah, the Human Torch. Other ones are from a superhero team called the Fantastic Four. So I bought this tie before Iron Man was so popular again. I'd love to have an Iron Man tie. I'll have to keep looking for one.
No, Darren, go on Amazon. Let's go on Amazon and find it.
I have to go on to Amazon. Yeah, I think that's good advice.
Find it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. When I was your age, I used to read comics about superheroes all the time, and so I'm so excited because while I was watching a football game last night, they had an advertisement for a new Thor movie.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah, and there's an advertisement for a new Justice League movie too. So, yeah, I'm in my glory days here. I used to go down to the corner store and buy a comic and sometimes a chocolate bar, and that would be my great allowance acquisitions for the week. Today I want to talk to you about another superhero. However, this one didn't have spider powers nor powered armor. He lived in the Middle Ages, so he didn't really have very much technology, but he had a brain and a heart, and that was how he became a superhero. His name was Martin Luther. And in those days, the church was raising money for big buildings. They called them cathedrals. And they weren't just like churches like this church. Like this church is a big church, don't get me wrong. But these cathedrals were huge. Like Josie, you've seen some of these in Europe, hey? And Ella, they're like unimaginably huge, aren't they? Like I went to England and saw one of these, and they say that the spire on this church that I went to is the tallest thing in England, which, I mean, it's just, these are huge, huge buildings. So they're building these huge buildings, and of course they cost a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Like they didn't have cranes or anything, they had to move everything by hand. So they had to raise money. So they were thinking, should we have a pasta supper? No, well, yeah, pasta suppers are good fundraisers, aren't they? Yeah, they're awesome fundraisers. But they were like, no, we need to raise more money than that. Can't be a pasta supper, you know, can't be a bake sale. I know, how about we sell something that people really want? And people really want prayers for their relatives. They want people who are sick to get well. And so we'll tell people that we'll pray for their relatives if they give us money. Yeah, good fundraiser, huh?
That's not nice.
No.
Just to pray for money, that's not good.
No, it doesn't sound really good, does it? No, I don't think that they really had the right idea. So Martin Luther thought, whoa, this is not good. Prayers are free, you know. And like you should, if you want to do praying, you should do your own praying. Or, you know, bring it to church, and a whole bunch of people in the church will pray with you because, you know, we're all friends in the church. So Martin Luther said, no, I can't agree with this. So he thought of 95 good reasons why this would be a bad thing to do. And he put it on the church door on Sunday morning. 95 reasons. So everyone who came to church that Sunday is like, this 95 reasons why this is not a good idea. And a lot of the people in the church agreed with him, but there were sometimes the ministers in the church, you know, they thought, oh, well, you shouldn't have said it this way, you know, this is not a good idea. So they got pretty angry with Martin Luther, and they said to him, okay, we have to bring you in front of the church group. And so he went in front of bigger and bigger church audiences and told his side of the story, you know, this is not what God wants us to do. But they said, well, no, we need the money for the cathedrals, come on now. And eventually he was so mad at them that he said some things that he may have regretted, and he got kicked out of the church. And so he was very sad because he loved the church. But you know what happened? Because he got kicked out of the church, some people thought, okay, this is too much. He only loved the church, and he was doing what he thought was right. It's not right to kick him out of the church. How about we make a new church, and we'll start a different way, and we'll do some different things, and we won't build quite the big cathedrals because, you know, they take too much money, and we'll do things a little different way. So they started some different churches. And one of the churches that they founded, they called it the Lutheran Church because they thought, well, Martin Luther was such a good guy. Let's name our church after him. And they still follow Jesus, mind you. But they thought, well, we'll start a different church and we'll do things a little different way. And so that was the start of all the different churches that we have today. There used to be just like one church, or there was kind of the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church, and that was it. But nowadays, we have lots of different types of churches. There's a Lutheran Church, and the Presbyterian Church, and the United Church of Canada. And there's a Uniting Church in Australia, and there's Christian Reformed Church, there's a Mennonite Church, there's Anglican, there is Church of England in England,
United Church.
St. Martin's United Church.
That's where we are right now.
That's where we are right now. Yeah, churches in the U.S., United Church of Christ. Yeah, Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ. So many different churches. And so we each can worship God in a little different way according to our personality. And that's good because God needs to be worshipped in lots of different ways. God doesn't need just, you know, one way to worship God. And so we can all worship God in a slightly different way, but we all serve the same God.
Can you play with the balloons downstairs now?
I'm just going to finish my story. The end of my story is that Martin Luther was like a superhero in that he changed the world, but he didn't have any superpowers. He wasn't even a knight at the time, not a king. He was a monk. He had some theological education, but he was a superhero because he changed the world by standing up for what he believed in and saying that God's love was for everyone and prayers are for everyone. So, the reason I talk about Martin Luther today is that October 31st, Tuesday, is Halloween, but it's also the anniversary of the day when Martin Luther put his 95 Reasons on the door of the church. And it was exactly 500 years ago on Tuesday that he did that. So that is the 500th anniversary of Martin Luther putting his reasons on the door of the church. And so a lot of churches are celebrating because, you know, it was the start of that whole thing, the start of what we call the Protestant churches, the churches that aren't Roman Catholic. And it's not that Roman Catholic churches are bad. They actually, after Martin Luther went through this whole big thing, they said, you know, I think we got to change some things in our church. And they did. To their credit, they did. So a lot of churches are much better today because of Martin Luther. So while you're eating candy on Halloween, you can spare a thought for Martin Luther.
I'm just going to eat candy.
You're just going to eat candy? No, I think of Martin Luther too. That's good. All right, we're going to go downstairs for Wild Goose Club, some of us. Some of us are going downstairs for youth group. Some of you are going to join the junior youth in the lounge and are going to continue crocheting scarves for people who need them. And the people up here are going to worship, right, Brian? Yes.
Thanks, Darren. Kids?